started, obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week.
Only for Tyler Perry to admit he did start a rumor that I was difficult to work with. He lied. Only for Tyler Perry to admit I was wrong.
Shannon Sharpe might be carrying some serious heat against Mo'Nique and Katt Williams. And honestly, who could blame him after the way things exploded? Katt didn't just pull up for an interview, he hijacked the spotlight. That one sit-down had clips running wild on every feed, turning Shannon's couch into the new confessional booth where nobody was safe and no PR team. Then Mo'Nique walked in and set it on fire, spilling her blackballing story and casually dropping heavyweight names like she was passing out grenades. Suddenly, Shannon wasn't just a host anymore, he was the man giving stars a mic to air the secrets Hollywood swore would never see daylight.
Only for Tyler Perry to admit he did start a rumor that I was difficult to work with. He lied. Only for Tyler Perry to admit I was wrong, and when my movie Boo come out, I'm gonna say that.
But that's exactly when the chaos started. A late-night IG Live he probably regrets ever posting, a lawsuit with damning audio receipts floating around, and messy headlines that fans had to reread twice just to believe. It all spiraled fast. So now the million-dollar question is, did those explosive interviews paint a target on Shannon's back? Or did his own messy slip-ups leave the door wide open for the storm to come crashing in? And let's be real, Katt's interview wasn't just trending, it was everywhere. That sit-down swallowed the timeline whole with shocking names, jaw-dropping claims, and non-stop debates in the comments.
Before we get started, obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week, and really the only thing that I really ask is like, guys, could we wait until Monday? My brother's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted to be about him, and I wanted to be about my family. I know this coming out will overshadow everything that he's worked his entire life for. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. And so, as I told him, as I profusely apologized to him earlier today, he said, bro, stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. I'm your big bro. I'm going to love you regardless. We all make mistakes. And he says, bro, I love you. So I'm done with this. You're done with it too. Move on. And I really enjoyed my time at ESPN. It gave me an opportunity to bring my audience that saw me really just grow.
People weren't just watching, they were dissecting every word like it was a crime scene. The full interview didn't just rack up views, it dominated the culture for days. Overnight, Club Shay Shay transformed from just another podcast into the rawest, no-filter spot in the game, and that's when the trouble really began. Shannon Sharpe went from being a sports legend to the man everybody tuned in to watch play culture referee. And that couch? It turned into Hollywood's hottest confession booth overnight. But this is where things took a whole new level of crazy. Because once your show blows up that big, the rules change fast. You're no longer just the interviewer. You become part of the story. People might clap for you, but at the same time, they're sitting back, waiting for you to slip, and you could feel that tension building. Sure, Shannon was on fire, hotter than he had ever been, but the vibe around him started shifting colder and colder. Those viral interviews made him a superstar in the podcast lane, but they also painted a massive target on his back. That's why when the IG Live scandal, the lawsuit, and the messy job drama all hit at once, folks started whispering, this can't just be bad luck. Somebody's setting him up. After Katt shook the internet with his wild sit-down, Mo'Nique came in swinging and kept that momentum alive. She slid into that same chair and didn't hold back, breaking down how she got blackballed, naming names, and calling out the very people she said were pulling the strings against her. Suddenly, Club Shay Shay wasn't just another platform, it was the stage where Hollywood's dirty laundry was getting aired out on camera for millions to see, and the internet? It was split right down the middle. Some were calling it 50 Shades of Shay, like it was entertainment gold, while others clowned Shannon, saying life has a funny way of humbling you, especially after he just threw Ocho under the bus, calling him unprofessional days before. And now, boom, tables turned. And the spotlight was no longer on his guests. It was locked on Shannon himself. At this point, the heat was all on Shannon. And just when the laughter around those viral moments started cooling off, another bombshell headline came crashing in. This time, it wasn't whispers or gossip. It was court documents with his name stamped right on them. A woman named Gabriela Zuniga hit Shannon with a jaw-dropping $50 million lawsuit, real paperwork, real court dates, and her team came armed with audio receipts that exploded across the internet like dynamite. Clips started bouncing from one platform to the next, chopped down to 30 seconds that had everyone convinced they knew the full story. Comment sections turned into war zones. Shannon clapped back fast, saying the recording was twisted, chopped up, and missing key context, that it wasn't anything close to what people online were making it out to be. But once something like that drops in public, you can't shove it back in the box. It's out there forever. Fans split into two camps instantly. Some said, let the court handle it, while others swore that 30-second clip was the smoking gun. Behind the scenes, you could feel the air shift. The brands, the business partners, the big names that used to back Shannon, they didn't come to defend him. They just went dead silent. That's how the game works. When the smoke is thick, they wait to see if you burn or walk out clean before standing next to you. Meanwhile, Shannon kept showing up like nothing happened. Lights on, cameras rolling, trying to prove he was unshaken. But with that lawsuit hovering over his name, the whispers about a setup started to get louder and louder. Too many hits were landing too close together, and the internet was buzzing that somebody wanted him buried. And just when it stopped feeling like internet mess and started feeling deadly serious, that's when the shocking job news dropped.
Obviously, I'm embarrassed. Someone that is extremely, extremely private, and to have one of your most intimate details, the audio heard for the entire world to hear. I'm embarrassed for a number of reasons. People count on Shannon, Shay Shay Media, Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, ESPN. There are a lot of people that count on Shannon to be professional at all times, and I always try to be professional at all times. Even when I'm behind closed doors, I still try to remain a level of professional, although I'm in the privacy of my own.
After the courtroom chaos, the job news hit like a sucker punch. 1 week, Shannon was still on TV like nothing changed, and the next, he was gone. No farewell, no heartfelt speech, no dramatic countdown, just a sudden, quiet exit that left fans stunned. What stung even more was the timing. His step back lined up right next to a big family moment, and you could hear that pain slip through in how he spoke about it. Losing a gig like that isn't just about the money. It slices at your pride, your status, your image. But here's the twist. Losing TV didn't mean losing the audience. His podcast was still booming, clips were still dominating the feeds, and his bookings weren't slowing down one bit. The only real change? Without that shiny TV role, people stopped seeing him as the man with the viral couch and started looking at him as the viral story. And just when you thought the storm couldn't get heavier, boom! Summer 2025 dropped another lawsuit in his lap. This time, from Gamita Tillman, who slapped Shannon, Ochachinko, and Shay Shay Media with a staggering $20 million defamation case. She claimed they pushed a false narrative about her marriage after that wild Usher concert moment. And this wasn't petty back-and-forth online drama. This was real paperwork filed in court. Headlines lit up like fireworks, clips got snatched and reposted everywhere, and the internet spiraled into endless debates about what was said, what was implied, and whether Shannon's platform finally crossed a dangerous line. Once again, he wasn't covering messy headlines, he was the messy headline. And here's the part most people skip over. Yeah, the case was filed later, but by then the damage was already done. By this point, the hits were coming back to back, and people couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. The timing was way too clean, like every new headline was lined up waiting for the last one to cool off before dropping another bomb. Fans started saying out loud what everyone was already thinking. This feels like a takedown, not just bad luck. Think about it. First the viral clips, then the $50 million lawsuit, then the sudden TV exit, and right after that, a $20 million defamation case? That's not just smoke. That looks like somebody's running the whole playbook against him. The streets were buzzing with conspiracy talk, with some swearing there were powerful names behind the curtain, making sure Shannon stayed on defense instead of offense. And you could see the pressure weighing on him. Every move he made got magnified. His words picked apart, his posts screenshotted, his silence even louder than his statements. The brands that used to flood his inbox with deals, They went quiet, keeping their distance, waiting to see if he'd crash out or climb out. Meanwhile, the fans who once hyped him up were now split, half defending him like he was being hunted, the other half laughing like he finally got caught slipping. But here's the kicker. Through all the lawsuits, headlines, and whispers, Shannon kept pulling numbers. The podcast didn't slow down, if anything. People tuned in even harder just to see if he'd break his silence or throw a jab back at the people dragging him. It was drama, controversy, and curiosity all fueling the fire. And every time he stayed on camera, it only made the question louder. Is Shannon Sharpe really unlucky? Or is somebody making sure he stays under fire? Just when it felt like the storm couldn't get any uglier, boom, the leaks started rolling in. Suddenly, private DMS, shady audio clips, and behind-the-scenes whispers were flying across the internet like wildfire. Screenshots started circulating, some real, some questionable, but all messy enough to keep Shannon's name trending non-stop. One clip that really blew up had voices arguing in the background, with people claiming it was tied to the lawsuit drama. Another so-called receipt popped up in group chats, showing texts that painted Shannon as manipulative and controlling. But just like before, nobody could prove what was real and what was doctored. And that's what made it worse, because the internet doesn't wait for facts, it runs with whatever looks juiciest in the moment. Industry chatter only added more fuel to the chaos. Whispers came out about Shannon being too comfortable, letting guests air industry secrets on his couch, like certain execs had been waiting for the perfect chance to clip his wings. The story wasn't just about the lawsuits anymore. It was about whether Shannon had crossed an invisible line and started messing with the wrong power players. And here's where it hit different. Fans weren't just gossiping, they were picking sides. Some shouted, "They're trying to destroy him!" While others clapped back, "Nah, these receipts prove who he really is." The debates were vicious, and every new leak kept the fire alive. Meanwhile, Shannon sat tight, not addressing most of it, which only made people hungrier for answers. What was once a celebrated rise turned into a live soap opera, and every receipt felt like another cliffhanger. The big question hanging in the air wasn't just whether he could survive the lawsuits. It was whether the next leak would be the one to finally break him. Some outlets reported the case was tossed in federal court, but those updates didn't hit nearly as loud as the original headlines. Not every platform ran the same story, and anyone who's ever dealt with the legal system knows how paperwork and timing can blur the truth. The only thing clear is this: the lawsuit was filed, later reports said dismissed, but depending on where you looked, the status read different every time. But here's the reality. While that case was active, the damage was already done. Lawsuits like that don't just sit in the background. They freeze up bookings, make brands backpedal, and tie your name to controversy instead of accomplishments. And then came the fan theories, the whispers that it all started after Katt and Mo'Nique's back-to-back interviews. Some swore that moment lit the fuse. Others claimed Hollywood decided to remind Shannon exactly who runs the machine. It's a cleaner story. Shannon opened his couch, gave people a raw mic, the truth spilled out, and the industry didn't let that slide. Maybe that's what went down. Or maybe it was just the perfect storm. Viral clips, IG slip-ups, leaked messages, and on-air moments stacking up until even the smallest mistake felt like a grenade in his lap. What isn't up for debate is how hot it got. After those interviews, the fire never cooled. Every week there was another clip, another headline, another reason for people to choose a side. And once the lawsuits hit, it wasn't just messy gossip anymore. It was legal, public, and carrying real stakes. So now we're left with the question, did Shannon get taken out by the system, or did he hand them the ammo himself? With TV gone and legal drama still hovering, his next move could flip the whole story, or lock it down for good. And if his name pops up in one more headline, we'll know this isn't just another chapter. It's the turning point of everything. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Public Secrets, because this story is far from over.